So for some reason, all of the advice that I see online regarding how to become more fun and interesting to talk to seems to focus on the other person. Now, what do I mean by that? Asking the other person a ton of questions, making them feel important, finding out what they like as quickly as possible, and focusing on that. And remember, don't talk about yourself because that's selfish. Now, I followed that advice for years, and it's great if you love one-word answers, people completely detaching from a conversation, and you notice the moment they check out, you're talking at them, and they start looking in another direction, and eventually come up with some kind of excuse to leave. Because the thing is, this dry conversation you're having, they could have had that with a million other people that day. There's nothing unique about it, and you're not showing them who you are. But if you want lively, fun, energetic conversations where the right words just seem to flow out of your mouth without any real effort, where you seem to be at your funniest, your most entertaining, without really having to put in too much effort, then listen up, because this is how it sounds. It sounds like I'm bragging, but I've trained this skill for many, many years. I socialize with people. I get out of my comfort zone like it's a full-time job, so I know what I'm talking about here. The main mistake people are making when it comes to being fun and interesting to talk to is they believe that it's their job to entertain the other person. Now, what do I mean by that? I feel like we're trapped in this kind of conversational culture of politeness, where it's like what I said before. We need to show politeness and courtesy to the other person. We need to remember every single detail they tell us because it might be important. We need to ask them loads of questions, make them feel seen, listen to them, hear them. But that just makes you come across 10 times more robotic, because first of all, people might start to question your intentions if you're asking them loads of questions, especially if it's someone you just met. It's like a lot of people are just not that comfortable opening up to strangers in general, at least where I live. And you're not showing them any of who you are. I just came back from a solo trip to Seville, and I met so many new people, because when you're going to a place like this on your own, it puts pressure on you to be social. Like, that's part of why I like it. It gets me out of my comfort zone. And I've struck up so many conversations with people in this hostel I stayed in, people from all around the world. And I had some of the most fun conversations I've ever had in my life. But as bad as it sounds, I could have forgotten what this person's name was like 20 seconds in. Or if they told me like any detail about their life, like what they did for a job, I don't know, what their hobbies are, that information would kind of like go in one ear and just out the other. Like, I'd forget it immediately. And the reason for that was that information, for whatever reason, my brain just didn't deem it to be important. Because get this, I'm not looking to ask them questions about that stuff, because in the most respectful way possible, I don't find that stuff particularly interesting. When I enter a conversation, I don't really want to know what your hobbies are, unless it's like a really fun hobby, like out of the ordinary, or I don't want to know what you do for work. To me, that's fucking stale. I don't enjoy talking about that. And the reason I'm telling you this is because when we're coming from this like frame of the entertainer, of like, I need to make sure you're having a good time, we end up coming across like so much more boring, because really we're doing this out of politeness a lot of the time. We're not really like asking these questions because we're interested. We're kind of asking them out of fear, if anything, because we're worried this conversation is going to go nowhere. Like, you probably had times where you've consciously been worried about like, what am I going to say next? And whilst this other person is talking, you're not even listening to them. You're starting to think of like the next 3 things that you're going to say? Like, what's the next 3 topics I can use? And it's out of fear. Like, you're not being genuine. You're not asking because you want to know. You're asking because you're just scared of not keeping the conversation going. But when you're coming from that frame, what we need to remember is that whatever you're feeling right now, in this moment, tense, kind of like, maybe there's like some level of neediness, like you want this person to like you, which is fair enough, understandable. Everyone has that. And you want to come across as interesting. But whatever you're feeling in that moment, that spectrum of emotions, that like tiniest bit of fear or nerves, the other person starts to feel that as well. Whatever we feel, they feel. This is the law of state transference. This is the idea that whatever emotions you're feeling in this moment, no matter what they are, and no matter how hard you try to mask or hide the way you're truly feeling, some of it, at least some of it, a percentage of that gets transferred to the other person. If I'm talking to someone new, or no, let's say I approach someone out of the blue, and I'm a little bit nervous. Say my intentions are good, I just want to have a conversation with them. If I come across like a little bit tense and awkward, whether I like it or not, how I'm feeling on the inside, in one way or another, I show that, I project that kind of energy. It could be through my body language or my cues, things that I'm not even really aware of as they're going on, but in one way or another, it's visible. My internal state becomes external. And this other person, they pick up on that. Again, they might not be fully aware of like what exactly it is, what I'm showing, but they pick up on this feeling. Why is this person so tense? Why are they like this right now? And it starts to put them on their guard. They start to think, so even subconsciously, am I in some kind of danger here? Is there a reason this person is like acting this way? It's all about energy. And when we're coming from the frame of the entertainer, I need to make sure you're having a good time. That's often the kind of energy we're putting out, like this kind of desperate, like, oh, I need this to go well. I need that kind of energy. The energy, if we're keeping in mind this, the law of state transference, however we feel at a given moment, that's how other people end up feeling. If we want to be fun to talk to, what do you think we need to do? What kind of emotions do we need to be feeling right now? Joy, excitement, humor, those positive, warm emotions. We need to be feeling those. If we're not feeling those, then we can almost guarantee that the other person isn't feeling it. Because it's not about what you say. It's not. So this is what so many people get wrong. They think, oh, I need to make it interesting for the other person. I need to read loads of books, have loads of stories and things to talk about. You don't. You don't need it. You don't even really need interest to be interesting. All you need is the right spectrum of emotions. And for that, you need to be legitimately having a good time. You need to be having fun. You need to be focusing on your enjoyment of this conversation above theirs. That's the mistake people get wrong. They prioritize other people's entertainment over their own. And this is what I mean when I say I just end up disregarding all the information that I don't really care about in a conversation. It sounds selfish, but like this isn't selfish, because I know by doing this we're both going to have a better time. And if someone else wants to do this, then I can click with them better, easier. I don't want to be talking about things like work or I don't want to be like listing off things I do for fun, because I just want to have a fun, playful, light-hearted conversation. And to do that, I intentionally steer the conversation towards things I know I'm interested in, or things I like. Sorry, I know I just talked about like you don't need interest, but Steer the conversation towards things you want to talk about. Make jokes. And this is where people go wrong. They start like forcing jokes or like intentionally trying to be funny. When you're having fun, you will naturally come across as funny. So if some little random thought comes into your head, this is what I do. If I have some little random thought, some like funny observation, or some kind of funny story or occurrence that just pops into my head, I don't think about it too hard. Oftentimes I just say it. It's a little bit like if you're on your own, if you're just going about your day and you see something funny, you will laugh to yourself, like you would, wouldn't you? Like, even if no one else is around, you would laugh because you found it funny. But where people go wrong is they'll make a joke specifically for like approval from others. Like they might force something and it comes through in their like delivery, like this sounds a little bit inauthentic, but they'll say something and then they'll scan the room for like a reaction. Did anyone else find that funny? And their enjoyment is like dependent on how others reacted to it. Me, I feel like I'm known as the person who's just constantly laughing at his own jokes. Because if I find something funny, I'll just say it. Or I'll laugh like no one else is there. I don't give a fuck. But by doing that, by like leaning into the things I find funny, which by the way requires some like level of understanding of what your humor is, I know I'm generating like a fun and positive vibe for the people around me. I'm being authentic. I'm putting my energy out there into the world. And most of the time that goes well. The people who don't like it, it's fine. I haven't tried to hide who I am on the inside. I've shown you who I am. If I don't like that, that's fine. We're incompatible. We can go our separate ways. We don't have to waste any time. But the people who do like that kind of energy, they will seek it out. They will find you. So the key is to really focus on your enjoyment above anyone else's. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like not rambling, but just having all these ideas coming into my head. I talked about questions. So many people go wrong with questions by just asking things out of politeness or things they don't really care about. I don't ask boring questions. Every question I ask is intentional. I might have thought of it 2 seconds ago, but if I ask you a question, it's because I genuinely want to know the answer. It's something I find interesting. It might be a fucking childish, ridiculous question, but I'm going to ask it because I want to know the answer. And that's me prioritizing my own enjoyment. If I'm asking you a dumbass question, but I've got a big smile on my face, it's because I'm having fun. And just some final words. Remember that, like, again, it's not about the words, it's about the energy. Keep in mind the law of state transference. Whatever you're feeling right now, this is what they end up feeling. And yeah, it's not about what you say. It's not about like bringing loads of different stories or I don't know, you don't have to like start talking about philosophy. You don't have to have like a really good knowledge of world events or whatever. Because some of the most fun conversations I've had have just been childish, just talking about random shit. But when you click with a person, you can kind of just talk about nothing, but time goes by because you're just joking and having fun. Think about how you are with your friends. You don't know exactly what you're going to talk about, but part of the joy of the conversation is starting in one place and finishing in a completely different place. Yeah, that's all I've got to say for now. Remember, law of state transference. Whatever you feel, they end up feeling. Take care.